All right, listeners, get ready. Today we're taking a deep dive into a street that's basically a time machine back to medieval England, the Shambles in York.
Ooh, the Shambles. I love that
I
place.
know, right? And we've got a ton of cool stuff to dig into, articles, shop descriptions, even some insider tips from Alistair's book.
Which one?
York local knowledge must do top tens and the vouchers to get them for less.
Whoa, right?
It's awesome. It's like having a local show you around. You can find it on iBooks or Google Books.
Yeah,
But okay, before we get lost in all the details, let's set the scene.
right.
What exactly is the Shambles?
Well, imagine a street that's basically frozen in time, like stepping back into the Middle Ages.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The Shambles is one of the oldest preserved medieval shopping streets in Europe.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah, the buildings there could tell stories that go all the way back to the Doomsday Book.
Okay, now that's old. I'm impressed.
Mm.
But the name Shambles, well, it's not exactly the most inviting, is it? What's the story there?
Yeah, Shambles actually comes from flesh shambles, which basically means flesh shelves.
It's flesh elves.
Yep. It used to be a bustling meat market.
No way.
All those cute leaning buildings that tourists love, they were designed to keep the meat shaded and fresh.
So instead of dodging selfie sticks, you'd be dodging butchers with sides of beef.
Pretty much.
Wild. Okay, but how did a street full of butchers turn into the tourist magnet it is today?
Well, it was a gradual thing, influenced by all sorts of stuff, pandemics, wars, you name it.
Like what?
Well, the Black Death back in the 14th century was a huge turning point. And then the English Civil War in the 17th century shook things up even more. York went through some serious transformations, and the Shambles, being right in the heart of it all, changed along with it.
So those wonky timber frame buildings have seen a lot of history.
Definitely. They're like the ultimate survivors.
That's amazing. So with all that history, where do we even start exploring?
Good question.
Well, Alistair's book has this top 10 list of Shambles highlights. Maybe we could start there.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Okay, so since we've already touched on the history, why don't we start with a taste of the present?
Okay, I like where this is going.
First up on the list, we have Shambles Kitchen, the legendary sandwich shop.
Ooh, a sandwich shop.
It's an institution in York. People rave about their sandwiches.
What makes them so special?
Well, think fresh, artisan bread piled high with locally sourced ingredients.
Sounds delicious.
They even name their sandwiches after famous York characters.
Really? Like who?
Well, they've got one named after Dick Turpin,
Dick Turpin, the highwayman?
the one and only. And get this, they've even been reviewed by GQ magazine.
Wait, GQ magazine is reviewing sandwiches in a medieval street.
I know, right? But there's one little catch.
Uh-oh. I knew there had to be a catch. What is it?
It's takeaway only. No sitting down to savor the atmosphere.
Oh, man. So I gotta find a nice spot somewhere else in York to enjoy my highwayman sandwich.
Yep, that's part of the adventure.
Fair enough. Okay, next on this Shambles culinary tour.
Let's go for something sweet.
Even better.
Florian Poirot.
Ooh la la, that sounds fancy.
He's a French master pâtissier.
Okay, we're talking serious pastry skills here.
We're talking delicate macarons, exquisite chocolates, and cakes that are fit for a queen.
Wait a minute, did you say fit for a queen?
I did. Queen Camilla herself is apparently a fan of Florian Poirot's creations.
Okay, that settles it. Florian Poirot is going straight to the top of my must-visit list. Royal approval is a pretty strong endorsement. But before we get totally sugar-hyped, what about the tea lovers out there?
The Shambles has something for everyone. We've got Hebden tea, a tea lover's paradise.
I'm listening.
They've got all the classics like English breakfast, but also more exotic blends. And get this, they just opened a brand new tea house called Hebden Tea Experience.
Whoa, a tea house.
Yeah, you can really immerse yourself in the world of tea there. They even have traditional Japanese varieties.
A tea house on a medieval street. That's a combo I never knew I needed.
Right.
So we've got sandwiches fit for royalty, sweets approved by the queen herself, and tea that'll transport you to another world.
Pretty much. And we've only just scratched the surface of the Shambles culinary scene.
I know. But the Shambles is more than just food, right?
Yeah.
What about all the cool shops and quirky finds?
Oh, you're absolutely right. There's tons of shopping. And speaking of unique finds, there's this one shop that has everyone whispering. You know the one I mean?
You mean the one with the magical connection?
Exactly.
The one that's basically a pilgrimage site for Harry Potter fans?
You got it.
The shop that must not be named.
It's the original Harry Potter shop on the Shambles.
Oh, wow.
It's where this whole wizarding world craze on the street really took off.
I can only imagine.
Wands, robes, scarves, all sorts of magical goodies. It's incredible.
I'm already picturing myself leaving that shop with a trunk full of Hogwarts merch. But wait, there's more, right?
Oh yeah, there's this place where you can actually brew potions.
You're kidding, right?
No, it's called the Potions Cauldron, and it takes the whole immersive experience to a whole new level.
Okay, now that is cool.
Mixing your own slush potions, sipping butterbeer, even trying the spellbound butterscotch beer that's all over TikTok.
Hold on, Spellbound Butterscotch Beer? I've seen those videos. The foam art is insane.
I know, right?
Okay, I'm sold. I'm already picturing myself wandering down the Shambles in full Hogwarts robes, butterbeer in one hand, bubbling potion in the other.
And don't forget your ghostly companion.
Ghostly companion.
You've got to visit the York Ghost Merchants. They have these adorable handcrafted ghosts. They're super popular, though, so be prepared to queue.
Queuing for ghosts. That's a new one. But hey, if they're that cute, I might just join the queue myself. What's the deal with these ghosts?
They're known for their cute Victorian aesthetic. Something about exploring a medieval street with a little ghost buddy just feels right.
I'm with you on that. Ghosts and potions, here we come.
Ah.
But okay, before we get completely swept away in the magic, let's keep going with this top 10 list, shall we?
Right, what's next?
Let's see.
Next up, we have a shop that's all about celebrating the holidays.
Okay, the Shambles celebrates the holidays.
All year round.
Oh, okay, let me guess. What screams festive cheer even in July?
Exactly.
The Nutcracker Christmas Shop.
You got it. It's a Christmas lover's dream no matter what time of year it is.
I love it.
Ornaments, decorations, they even have fake snow flurries for that perfect holiday photo op. It's basically Instagram gold.
That's amazing. I can't believe we've gone from medieval butchers to Harry Potter to Christmas all in one street. The Shambles is quite the eclectic mix.
It really is.
Okay, before we get lost in a shopping spree, let's talk about something savory again.
You read my mind. We can't forget the Shambles Sausage and Pie Company.
Ooh, pies.
This place is a carnivore's dream.
Ah.
Freshly baked pies, sausage rolls, all made with local ingredients.
Now I'm seriously craving a pie.
Me too.
It's making me hungry.
Same here.
You know, we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah.
From butcher shops to magical potions, it's been quite a journey.
I know, right?
I think we need a moment to let it all sink in.
Agreed. It really is amazing how they've managed to blend the old and the new so seamlessly on the Shambles.
Totally. It's like stepping into a history book, but with really good Wi-Fi.
Haha. That's a good one.
And speaking of modern-day treasures, we have to mention Take One Gifts.
Oh, yeah. Take One Gifts is a must-visit for any pop culture fan.
It's like a paradise for anyone who loves movies, TV shows, you name it.
Think Star Wars, anime, classic rock merchandise.
They've got it all.
And the best part is, it's housed in these 3 historic buildings from the 19th century.
So you're telling me I can geek out on Star Wars and history all in one place?
Exactly. 2 birds, 1 stone.
I love it. Okay, but before we get lost in a galaxy far, far away, I think it's time we talked about St. Margaret Clitheroe's house and shrine.
Ah, yes. A somber reminder of the religious persecution that once gripped England.
Yeah, it's hard to believe something so tragic happened on a street that now feels so full of life.
It definitely makes you reflect on the layers of history present in these ancient walls.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a bit more about St. Margaret Clitheroe and her story?
Well, Margaret was a Catholic woman who was executed in the 16th century for harboring Catholic priests.
Wow.
It was during the Reformation, a time of immense religious upheaval, and she paid the ultimate price for her faith.
Her story is incredibly powerful.
Her house and shrine are a poignant reminder of her courage and the sacrifices made for religious freedom.
It's a reminder that history isn't always pretty, but it's important to remember it all.
Exactly.
Okay, well, on a lighter note, Alistair's book had some great tips for making the most of a visit to the Shambles.
Oh, yes, those are some good ones.
And I have a feeling you're going to tell me to get there early.
You know me too well. The Shambles is a popular spot, especially on weekends.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So the earlier you can get there, the better.
Less crowds, more magic.
Exactly. Plus, the morning light is perfect for photos.
Okay, noted. Early bird gets the Shambles worm. Any other insider tips you want to share?
Definitely. Don't just stick to the main street.
Okay, what else is there?
Explore the Snickleways.
Snickleways. What in the world are Snickleways?
So they're these narrow, winding alleyways that connect the main streets of York.
Oh, cool.
They're like secret passageways leading to hidden gardens, charming courtyards.
Like a real-life treasure hunt.
Pretty much. And while you're exploring, don't miss the Shambles Market just behind the main street.
Ooh, a market.
It's a great place to grab a bite to eat with tons of different cuisines.
Perfect for a lunch break.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm convinced. We need a whole week just to experience the Shambles properly. Early mornings, secret alleys, market eats.
Sounds like a plan.
But before we get too carried away planning our trip, let's dive a little deeper into the heart of this historic street.
Okay, where do you want to start?
Let's talk architecture. Those wonky, timber-framed buildings are iconic.
They really are, and they tell a fascinating story of architectural evolution.
So, the Shambles started as a meat market, and over time it's gone through some major transformations.
Right, the Black Death, the English Civil War, they all left their mark on the street.
Those buildings have seen it all.
Definitely.
It's fascinating how their style reflects those changing times.
Absolutely. Take the jetties, for example, those overhanging upper floors.
Oh yeah, they give the Shambles that unique look.
They were super common in medieval times.
So they weren't just for shading the meat.
Nope, they were multifunctional. Provided more space upstairs without taking up room at street level, and helped prevent fires from spreading between buildings.
Wow, so those quirky jetties were both stylish and practical?
Exactly. Form and function.
What about the rest of the architecture? What other clues about the Shambles history can we find just by looking at the buildings?
Well, as you walk down the Shambles, you'll notice a mix of architectural styles.
Oh yeah.
You'll see medieval elements like the jetties and timber framing, but also hints of Georgian influence.
Like what?
More symmetrical facades and elegant brickwork.
It's like a walking tour through time.
Exactly.
It's amazing how these buildings have stood the test of time, preserving the stories of past generations.
It's like they're whispering secrets to us.
And speaking of connections, we can't forget about the Shambles' impact on popular culture.
Oh, yes. It's been quite the star.
We talked about the Harry Potter connection, but what about its influence on movies and TV shows?
The Shambles has definitely had its fair share of screen time.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of movies and shows?
Well, for example, The Other Boleyn Girl, the historical drama, filmed some scenes on the Shambles.
No way.
And Gunpowder, the British series about the gunpowder plot, also used it as a backdrop.
I had no idea.
It's like you're walking in the footsteps of Henry VIII or Guy Fawkes.
That's so cool. It just adds another layer of intrigue to the street.
Definitely. And speaking of intriguing details, have you ever noticed those small square windows on some of the buildings?
Now that you mention it, yes, they're kind of tucked away.
Those are called blind windows.
Blind windows. Why are they blind?
Well, back in the 17th century, there was a tax on windows.
A window tax.
Yep. So to avoid paying extra, people would brick up some of their windows, making them blind.
That's a clever workaround.
It's a quirky reminder of the resourcefulness of the people who lived and worked on the Shambles.
I love those little historical details.
Me too. They make the street come alive.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the history and architecture of the Shambles. But what about some practical advice for visitors?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
What do our listeners need to know to prepare for their Shambles adventure?
Let's start with the most important tip. Wear comfortable shoes.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
You'll be doing a lot of walking, and those cobblestones can be uneven.
Nobody wants blisters on their Shambles trip.
Exactly.
What about navigating the crowds? We've already established that it's best to go early, but what if you can't avoid the peak times?
Patience is key.
Okay, patience.
The Shambles is narrow. It can get pretty crowded, especially during tourist season.
I can imagine.
Just take your time, enjoy the atmosphere, and don't be afraid to duck into a shop or snickle away if you need a break.
Good advice.
And one last tip, don't forget to look up.
Look up.
Yeah, the details on the buildings are incredible. The carvings, the signage, it's easy to miss if you're not paying attention.
You're right. I'm always so focused on what's right in front of me.
So take a moment to appreciate the beauty above you.
Okay, we'll do. So we've covered the practicalities. Now let's talk about the fun stuff.
Yeah, what about it?
If you could pick one thing that every visitor to the Shambles absolutely has to do, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one.
There's so many options.
But if I had to choose, I'd say get lost in the atmosphere.
get lost.
Yeah, wander down the street, explore the snickleways, pop into the shops that catch your eye, let yourself be transported to another time.
To soak it all in.
Exactly. That's the magic of the Shambles. It's where history and imagination collide.
Beautifully said.
Thanks.
The Shambles is a true sensory experience. The sights, the sounds, the smells.
It's an overload in the best possible way.
And speaking of smells, I'm starting to get a whiff of something delicious.
Me too. I'm suddenly feeling quite peckish.
What do you say we take a break and grab a bite to eat?
I'm in.
Highwayman sandwich and some ghostly tales? Anyone?
Count me in.
Man, I'm telling you, the Shambles is just pure magic. It's like stepping into a storybook, but with way better food. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. The Shambles is definitely a feast for the senses. I mean, it's not just about the shops and the sights.
It's that atmosphere, you know?
Exactly. There's a real energy there, a sense of history and wonder all mixed together.
And the food. Don't even get me started on the food.
It's true. The food scene on the Shambles is incredible. From those legendary sandwiches to those French pastries. We can't forget the pies.
Oh, man, those pies. It's wild to think that a street that was once all about butchers is now a foodie paradise.
It's pretty amazing how it's evolved over time, isn't it? You know, from meat hooks to macarons.
Talk about a glow up.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, all those changes, it makes you wonder what stories those buildings could tell if they could, right?
Yeah.
I mean, centuries of history have passed through the Shambles.
Oh, I bet those timber frames have seen it all. Imagine the secrets they hold.
Right. I mean, from the Black Death to the English Civil War to who knows what else, I bet those walls could whisper some pretty juicy gossip.
Oh, absolutely. Clandestine romances, hidden treasures, maybe even a ghost or two.
Ooh, spooky. But you're right, it makes you realize that the Shambles isn't just a pretty street, you know?
No, it's so much more than that.
It's a living, breathing piece of history. It's like a time capsule of York's past.
It's a reminder that history isn't just something you read about in a textbook.
It's all around us.
Yeah.
Right there in the streets we walk on, the buildings we see.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground today, from the history and architecture to the shops and the snickleways. But what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember about the Shambles?
Good question. I think the biggest thing is to just go there with an open mind, you know?
Be open to the experience.
Exactly. The Shambles is a place that rewards curiosity and a sense of adventure.
So don't be afraid to wander off the beaten path.
Right. Explore those snickleways, chat with the shopkeepers, you know, really soak in the atmosphere. That's what makes the Shambles so special.
I couldn't agree more. It's about letting yourself be surprised by the magic of the place. Discovering those hidden gems that you wouldn't find if you were just following a guidebook.
Exactly. You never know what treasures you'll uncover when you embrace the unexpected.
Well said. And speaking of treasures, we have to give a shout out to the ultimate guide to unlocking the secrets of York.
Oh, you mean Alistair's book?
The one and only. York local knowledge must do top tens and the vouchers to get them for less.
It's a must-have for anyone visiting York. Packed with tips, fun facts, and even some discounts.
Seriously, folks, it's like having a local whisper, all the best-kept secrets in your ear. You can snag a copy on iBooks or Google Books. You won't regret it. And while you're at it, why not book a stay at a cozy holiday home in York through www.houseofyork.org.
They've got something for everyone.
Make the Shambles your home base and explore all the wonders that York has to offer. It's a city that will capture your heart, that's for sure. Well, folks, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the Shambles. Thanks for joining us on this historical adventure.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, the best adventures are often found down the most unexpected alleys.